Welcome into the official. I'm your host, Alfred. And of course, like always, we've got a great show for you this week. We are getting into sleepers. Now, this is something everybody universally loves, right? Fantasy football industry loves sleepers. And when we talk sleepers on the official, we're talking about recruits who are sleepers. So these are guys who, in our opinion, are 3 stars or less. I think most are 3 stars, but some guys are only ranked by one service. Some guys are ranked by multiple, but 3 stars or less that we think are going to become freshmen that get drafted by next freshman draft season. So that'd be 2024. Or maybe even guys who will supersede just being drafted and actually be, prime producers. A great example of this last year was Quinshon Judkins. He was a 3-star. And we had him ranked pretty high. And then all of a sudden he went for 1,600 yards in his freshman season. So just because they are 3 stars does not mean they can't become stars, literal stars at the next level. And these are the guys whose value can 10x, from where they were drafted the previous fall. You get the most tremendous value here. So it's the sleeper show. And we are going to break this into 2 parts, just FYI. First show tonight will be quarterbacks, tight ends, and we'll go over commitments. Next week, there's some travel issues, so we're recording it now, and then you wait 2 weeks, and you'll get running backs and receivers. So be on the lookout for that. And without further ado, this is the official. All right. Look at those handsome young men over there, ready to go, talking sleepers. We have so much to get to tonight, so I'm going to make it quick. This is the official. Check out homefieldapparel.com. I've mentioned it for the last few episodes. We have an affiliate program with them now, so Campus to Canton on your promo code gets you 15% off an order that you have not, if you've never purchased from them before. Great collegiate apparel. It's soft, it's comfortable, and it's vintage looking. It's great stuff. Also, check out campustocanton.com, our parent website for memberships to all the things we talk about here on the official, recruiting, rankings, all these in-site tools, data tools that you can use to get better at all sides of fantasy football, whether it's college, NFL, Devy, or campus to Canton leagues or anything like that. So with that out of the way, we got to get to names. We are just going to shower names on you to both this week and next week. Matt and David, are you ready to talk 3-star sleepers? And we just got so many names to go through.
Yeah. It's all I really ever want to talk about, to be honest. So, yeah.
Okay.
We love the sleepers.
There we go. All right, so Matt has done a beautiful thing for us. I'm going to pull this thing up here. He's got the tier program, which is new for us. We've never really had this before, but I think this is going to be an awesome way to show the landscape of these sleepers. And I'm really excited about this. Thank you, Matt, for putting this thing together. We also, of course, have clips so you can see what these guys actually look like. If you're listening on the podcast, you probably want to go watch this one on YouTube. We release it in both places, but there's going to be tons of videos so you can see what these guys look like and why we think they can be big-time producers. All right, quarterbacks. Of course, we always kind of end up talking about quarterbacks first. And I'm going to throw one guy out here. To David, he introduced us to this guy, and I guess we're still on this player as a potential riser. Aiden Glover. David, talk to us a little more about him. You kind of brought him to all of our attention. We were pretty impressed a few weeks ago when we talked about him, but any additional thoughts? Looks like now he's committed. Was he committed before?
The last time we talked about him, he wasn't committed. We were worried about him going to Northwestern, but he committed to Missouri, which, I don't know, I think it's a decent spot. And, he gets to prove himself in the SEC. But
Love that.
Really, he kind of hits baseline. I'm usually looking for a baseline of physical attributes. So I do think he's a good athlete. He hits the 10% rushing market share. I thought you can see right here, he's got a strong arm. He's mobile in the pocket as well. And from what I saw from his summer clips on Twitter, his arm is just getting even stronger. He's filling out more. So I think he's an ascending player. And yeah, I mean, I think throughout the summer he landed a bunch of offers. So I'm expecting him to probably become a 4-star. I think he's like just outside right now.
Calling the shot here. 4-star on the horizon for Aiden Glover. And I would say if there's anything that we can be real proud of on this show is identifying guys who gain a star. That would be pretty impressive. Nice thing in your back pocket there, David. Also, really nice update to get that SEC offer and commitment. Love that for everything going forward, to be honest with you. All right. Arrington Maiden. Matt, I'm going to throw it to you. You talked to us about
I think we should tier him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. Thanks for keeping me honest there. All right, where are we going to put Aiden Glover? S tier, A, B, C, or D? I really like what I've seen as well. And this is tiers of sleepers, right? So we're not saying an S tier here, it should belongs with 5-star status. It's just of these guys, where would we put them? David, you throw out the nomination first, and we can see if we agree.
Yeah, I'm trying to compare him across the board here with the other players that we have nominated. I would probably say like the B or C. Probably like a B.
I would put
B.
him
I mean,
B.
the SEC offer sounds like, Northwestern would make it harder to put him way up there, but I think B's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I would have said B or A, so I think B's perfectly fine.
Okay.
And if we're saying he's going to get a 4th star, I mean, he's pretty high.
I wouldn't be against A.
Oh. Yeah, see, this is the first. I don't know.
Well, let's think. Looking at the quarterbacks
we can move
here.
it around. Let's
we can adjust the board.
Okay. Well, yeah,
flexible.
That's fine. We can leave it at B for now.
All right, Matt, can you give us Arrington Maiden?
Yeah. So he's a quarterback out of Texas. I think he's currently projected to go to Memphis, and he's one of the youngest players, or one of the younger players in the class. He's going to be less than 18 for sure by the time we get to National Signing Day. And his profile has kind of gone up starting this offseason. He's looked good in the 77 circuits. He's got a pretty big arm, definitely athletic. I think he was like a 700-yard rusher last year. Just good legs in general. I know Alfred loves that.
David, too. It's not just me.
He is a bit raw, though, 56% passer, I think. But, he's young, and we're talking sleepers here, so I think he's definitely worth a shot, especially considering he's I think he's only ranked by 2 at the services, or 1. So he doesn't even have like a composite ranking by on 3. So pretty deep down sleeper that I think is definitely going to be ranked soon.
All right. He looked pretty good, but if you said he's raw, feels maybe more like a C tier. But he's kind of your guy who's introduced, so you could always throw out the first nom.
Yeah, I would say C or B. I think C is fine probably for now.
Yeah, I think C is good.
Maybe if he gets into a better, CFF projectable landing spot, you could bump him up. But C for now.
Fair. All right, that's fair. So some of these guys I don't have a big opinion on. If we're just taking turns, I guess we'll just fall into that. I'm going to take Trey Petty, a quarterback who's out of Starkville, Mississippi. Actually, I knew about this guy before. However, one of his receivers is like a 4-star or something. And I was actually looking at his receiver who just caught that pass, and I was like, it's amazing. You watch these guys, and like you can tell pretty quickly a guy has a quarterback who should be ranked. And I was like, well, who's playing quarterback for Starkville? Turns out, 3-star Trey Petty. And I liked him. He also shows a lot of mobility here. He's got legit, playmaking ability as a runner. So it's not like he's a functional athlete. He actually can make plays as a runner. He's going to be a problem on the ground. He's a little small, 5'11", 195. So, probably unlikely to have tremendous NFL potential, although we have seen smaller guys obviously get drafted early. But I think that would be a stretch. I think the college side, he could be pretty good. He's going to Illinois, Big Ten program that was, not terrible last year. They're kind of on the up and up. I would say B tier, at least. We got to put some of these guys in A. I think he's one of the higher ranked guys we have here, so the services kind of agree. Pretty good completion percentage, a dangerous runner. I like his throwing motion. It's quick. I think he's got a lot of tools. B or A? I don't know who we're going to wind up putting in A at this point, but.
So I would argue C, actually. I think you're forgetting Cal Swanson, one of our favorite sleepers from last year, also going to Illinois. So I don't think there's a very clear path to him starting there. I wouldn't say Cal's like this, super superior talent, but I would probably prefer Cal at this stage. So
I do really like Cal Swanson, and that's true. We're thinking CFF as well, and so sitting behind a 1-year guy, a 1-year gap between a guy that we like. Good for Illinois, bad for fantasy, right? So
what do you think, David?
I could be down with that. David, any thoughts to be the tiebreaker here?
Yeah, I get that. I get that point. I don't know if I'm weighting like his overall talent in general. Like if we scooch up Glover to A, then I think it makes more sense to have Petty in B. Like that's how I'd order these three guys.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the candidates here, it is like we're gonna have to pick some guys to be A and stuff. I think we're gonna be conservative in the beginning, but yeah, looking at the landscape,
I'm happy
I
with
think
that.
that kind of does make sense. And I would, landing spot matters. I would say this far out as well. I mean, we're in June before they commit in December, and then or maybe even commit in like February. They could flip or who knows what. So I think it's fair to maybe overweight actual talent than landing spot right here. So I'm happy with that. All right, moving forward. I go back to David here. Blake Barnett, Kansas State, 6'2", 205. And I should start throwing out the composite QB ranks. He's 51 on the on-3 composite. Tell us about Blake Barnett. And, this is another guy going to a place that we like, the quarterback who signed in 2023. So another log jam. These programs are identifying good QBs, it seems.
Yeah, he's a playmaker. I actually kind of like him. Kansas State, they seem to find a lot of these guys. So he actually has a 90th percentile adjusted speed ranking in Matt's database here. He ran like a 10.7 100 meter, and I know you said 205. I've seen also 215. He's a hefty guy, so he's a real good athlete. His ball flight's a little weird, but that deep ball comes down. It is a balloon
ball, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a balloon ball. Some of those, he definitely has to refine his passing for sure. So he's kind of a work in progress, but just the rushing upside at Kansas State, I have to like the potential in that regard.
All right, give us your tier.
So tier wise, I would probably put him probably B or C. So I think he is a little he definitely needs to be refined as a passer. I'll say C.
Yeah,
just watching that clip, even I hadn't seen him too much before, but some of those balls, he needs to get more of a trajectory on those. So I think there's a little work to be done. So C tier, unanimous. All right, Demarcus Davis, Matt, take it away.
Actually, you should just give this David's guy. Go for it, David.
All right, go for it. 2 in a row.
Yeah. This guy wasn't ranked at all when I came. This first throw just stood out to me. He made it look so easy. I mean, that ball traveled so far with good pace. That's one thing I'm looking for with these quarterbacks to see if they have the requisite arm to potentially get to the NFL. Also, I just from watching his stuff on Twitter and stuff, he's definitely filling out, getting stronger. So I don't really consider him an actual dual threat, whatever. He can run, but he's got good pocket mobility, and he's got the stamp of approval from Keelan DeBoer, which I think that means something. It's just I don't know. I do kind of like Austin Mack as well, so that's the part that I'm kind of wrestling with myself here. And I don't have a DOB on him. I think he may be young for the class. I'm still trying to figure that out. I searched pretty much everywhere I could. He's got a June birthday, but if he's young for the class, I would feel more comfortable with him because he is still pretty raw. And if he doesn't have an efficient year as a senior, then I'll back off of him. But I'm expecting him to have a pretty big senior year. But I think the tools are there for him to be pretty good. I think I would probably put him in B tier just because he's a bit of a wild card. I don't know. I'm not really sure what to expect as a senior.
Man, unranked to B tier.
I would argue A tier, honestly. I think going to that system, and then plus I think he's probably the highest rated amongst these guys. If not already, he's going to be. So I think he could definitely A tier. I think you can even honestly argue S tier. So.
Okay. I mean,
S tier. I mean, and Matt's a tough guy to impress. So if Matt's the one saying we should bump him up,
yeah,
I feel like we could listen to that.
I'm pretty conservative with my takes. It's up to you
yeah,
guys.
I mean, I would say, gosh, I think Glover. I think that he should maybe be in the same tier as Glover. I'm not sure he should be above Glover. And I guess, Matt, you created this, so we'll just discuss this in real time here. But do you imagine all players listed, or are we going to just do quarterbacks and reset the board for other positions?
I think we should just do all players.
Okay, so we'll have S tier fill out eventually.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks, I think, are difficult. Obviously, there's so much we can tell physical traits. There's so much like mental and processing that, frankly, is hard to do on highlights and hard to do at the college or high school level because they don't even see the defenses they'll see. So you can assume, but it's hard to really feel great about it. All right, and then finally, Matt, your turn. Timothy Carpenter going to Indiana. I've looked at this. I've tried to actually look at this guy. I did not find clips. Was he just on Huddle? Maybe it was a secondary profile. Sometimes Huddle can be tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think you can just find him on normal Google. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I originally found him just an article.
Guy,
so yeah,
interesting to me. So take it away.
So yeah, Timothy Carpenter committed to Indiana. He's 6'4", 200, and he's been timed at in the 4.5s this offseason. So very impressive size, speed at this stage. And his arm looks manageable at least. I wasn't in love with it. But I definitely think it's good enough to thrive in college, and the physical upside is just there, and at least a good bit more than a lot of these guys that are 3-stars. So I think he can develop into something at least. You can see him taking off there, showing off that 4.5 speed. I think it's just a pretty straightforward size speed guy with an okay arm going to an okay system.
I mean, we're not going to argue size speed at quarterback. But, yeah, he's 6'4", 200, so he is a big boy, and he could probably fill out that 200 with that frame. And he looks kind of thick on the film even. So I would have no problem believing he could get bigger than that. So, maybe one of these late – I mean, hey, Anthony Richardson was a 3-star. 4-star at the very end of the process. But Anthony Richardson was a 3-star for most of the process. He was a complete freak athlete, and he is one that panned out, at least for draft capital. So, this is not a bad idea to bet on these types.
Yeah,
all right, so
that being said,
tier-wise,
I think C or D, honestly. I wasn't that in love with the arm. If I saw some more upside as a passer, he's kind of like, he's kind of similar to like Blake Barnett pretty much. Just a big guy running pretty fast with a serviceable arm at least. Yeah,
I think the arm there was not terribly impressive. There was only a few clips, but you can kind of when you watch enough of these guys, you can kind of tell pretty quickly. So I'd be fine with D if you wanted to do that, or even Barnett could go down to D if.
I think if we put him in D, we have to bump Barnett too, though.
And but Barnett, well, the system like Indiana is whatever.
Well, I mean, at least. We can project him to become a starter there. I don't think
that is true.
That's
the other side of that coin. Okay,
favorite.
Good point. David, are you okay with this? Are you just seething over there?
No, I'm not seething at all. I'm not super passionate about Barnett. I'm totally cool with that.
Makes sense. Right, I actually like the way that played out. I think that's pretty nice. 2 A's, a B, a C, and 2 D's for sleepers. I think that's a decent spread there. All right, so for this show, we are skipping what people really want to hear. You're going to have to wait till next week. Running back and receiver will happen next week. We're going to skip all the way down to tight end. But here at The Official, we love tight ends. And, Chris Moxley, also of CampusCandid.com, thinks tight ends are tremendous value in C2C leagues. And I agree. I am fully on the tight end train. Like, I scout them much more closely than I used to. I draft them in freshman drafts when I didn't used to. Because if you hit on one, it is huge, and it translates to the NFL. And tight ends, if you can get a real difference maker, it's almost it's just such a leg up on the competition. So I really like tight ends. I think these are absolutely worthwhile. Do not skip this section of the podcast or of the show. But first, we're going to go to Gavin Hoffman, 6'5", 220. And Matt, you added this at the last second, so I'm assuming maybe this is your guy, and you can take it away.
I wouldn't say he's my guy, but he has an interesting profile. He's just committed to Iowa. He's been gaining some
yeah.
steam this offseason because he's come out and tested pretty good. I don't have the exact numbers here, but he is kind of small at the moment. I believe only listed at 6'4", 200. Hold up, 1 second.
I got 220.
Oh, okay. 6'4", 6'5", 220. So never mind. I was looking at the lighter estimate, I guess. It's a pretty straightforward projection there. I mean, going to Iowa, tight end you could argue, and being a pretty freaky athlete at this stage, it's a pretty good combination. So they can, hopefully develop him.
Sometimes this isn't that hard, and the Iowa strength and conditioning program is going to get him to 250 like easy. So, all right, I like that.
I would argue B or C.
David?
Because while I do like him, I don't think the tape is that impressive, to be honest.
I would go just based off his like athletic testing, and Iowa wants him. That's a pretty big deal to me. And I like his basketball highlights, which is like that's the only way I scout tight ends. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even watch their football tape. I just watch basketball tape. But he actually played shooting guard too, which is impressive to me. He's not like one of these big like
6'5", 220 shooting guard in high school would be terrifying.
So he's like beating dudes off the dribble and stuff. Like he looked pretty athletic on the court. I would say B for me. I like him.
Got me sold.
Yeah, but it is.
All right, Gavin Hoffman, B tier. And David, so I'm going to throw it to you. A little bit smaller guy, 6'4", 215 listed, Jordan Washington. This is the second Jordan Washington, or two Jordan Washingtons we'll talk on the show, and I think there are 3 Jordan Washingtons in the 2024 class. So we have this guy marked as Jordan Washington tight end. There's Jordan Washington, Alabama, and there's another Jordan Washington. So this is the J-Wash tight end. David, tell us about him.
Yeah, I think he kind of came out of nowhere. At least I don't think he was ranked the last time I had looked, but he's definitely a summer riser as well. Another basketball player, big surprise. But yeah, he's real athletic. He's not the biggest dude, but I think you can see he's a bit of a dog there in the blocking game. But I think he gets to like, 245, whatever, 6'4", 245, which is fine. But plays in Texas. He can stretch the field a little bit. I think I like him pretty similarly to Hoffman. Do we know? I can't remember off the top of my head is he committed yet or no?
No, I don't think he is.
Okay. Yeah, so that part of the factor I don't know. I would probably say C for him, maybe.
I agree.
Down the C tier. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, we're getting smaller as we go on, but we do have some miles per hour for this next guy. I'm going to throw it to Matt. Keelan Smith, 6'3", 210, with a 20.2 miles per hour for tight end. Pretty impressive. That's a number that we, don't mind for wide receivers. So, but he is on the lighter side. So, what do you think about Keelan Smith?
Yeah, he's definitely a bit smaller, but I think he can continue to pack on the frame a bit and end up like an Evan Ingram size, like 235, 240-ish type of tight end. But he definitely moves good on tape. Nebraska, pretty exclusively just goes after these freak athletes. So he does test pretty well for an athlete of his size. Pretty good after the catch. I think that's a pretty strong selling point on his profile. But yeah, probably not going to be used as a traditional inline guy, at least not anytime soon. Just given on the size alone. So I'm not in love with him. Probably another C tier for me, I would say. Just because if he had more evidence of being an inline guy, maybe I'd be a bit more impressed. But if you're just exclusively a guy who's going to be out wide, and you're not like this crazy high end talent there, then I'm not going to be like super on you.
Yeah, I'm definitely in lockstep there. It's a running joke that I really have to see that dog in him for the tight end recruits. But I do think that you're right. I mean, your assessment, you explained it well. Like, I think if you're only doing this in high school and as basically a receiver, there's going to be a lot to learn unless the team sees you as a wide receiver. So I think it's hard to project. I would not want to be too aggressive here. I think your tier is appropriate. I would maybe even say D tier if we have almost no blocking evidence. But I'll give David the tiebreaker.
I mean, I don't think you're going to be hard to find any blocking on the rest of the guys too. So
fair enough.
We don't have any dogs in this one, but I think I'm gonna lean. On talent, I would say C, but I'm like leaning towards D just because Nebraska just has so many like guy. I just don't know how. They just got Carter Nelson, who everyone seems to love, and
that is true.
Like Malachi Coleman. I don't know. I just keep adding all these freaks. It's just I don't know where he fits in, and that's kind of why I lean D.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, agree. I totally forgot Carter Nelson committed today, who we'll talk about in the commit section.
Yeah. Okay. This next guy looks incredibly intriguing. Just size speed.
I'll take him because I consider him my guy. So.
Okay, Matt's guy. Well, his name is Matthew Ogunyeyi, it looks like, or hope I didn't do too bad there. 6'5", 210, and I can't believe I'm reading this. 21.2 miles per hour for, that's good for like a 5'10", 185 receiver. So tell us about this guy. Seems like a freak athlete going to Rutgers. So what's up?
Yeah, I think another pretty straightforward evaluation here. He's really big and really fast at this stage. Another guy that not a blocker at all. He's pretty exclusively playing out wide at the moment. But I think Rutgers' offense is going through a bit of evolution. They just got in a new offense coordinator. Can't recall his name off the top of my head, but he made Minnesota into a 4,000-yard passing team. So I think he can, at least replicate that a little bit at Rutgers. So I think, he can at least be productive. Very high-end athlete. Hopefully he can, bulk up a bit. But I really like his upside there as, just a big tight end that can, play out wide and, be successful downfield.
I mean, looking at that tape, he's got great receiving technique. I mean, I would say hands, but it really just looks more like, he catches, he converts it upfield. That is not what you would expect from a tight end or even, honestly, some receivers at this level. So looks like he's very comfortable, as a weapon out there. So pretty interesting guy, actually. I love that find. I'd say C. What did you say? B or C?
Actually, I didn't say. I would say A or B.
Yeah. I mean, David, any thoughts?
Based off his athleticism, because 21.2 miles per hour for a tight end is that's really high. I mean, like Deuce Robinson was like 21.6.
And he's 210, so I mean, it may not quite be there when he adds hopefully 30 pounds, but still.
Yeah, I feel like fast guys
still be above those people though.
Yeah,
if he puts on bad weight. Yeah, I feel like fast guys stay fast, but yeah, it's really just about it. He does kind of have a little bit of a slender build, so it's kind of a question how big he gets, but I would say I'll go with B. I was between A or B. I don't know.
I could go A.
I could go A on upside. I'm an upside guy. I go A. I'm an upside guy.
Yeah, A it is. You won't catch
Rutgers, you have an A tier prospect. All right, Noah Onaya, 6'5", 225, and just I don't know who likes him the most, but someone just chimed in here.
Do you want to continue?
Yeah, I like him. I like him too. He's starting to rise during the summer process, doing pretty well at camps. He's also real athletic. He's not as fast as as Matthew, but he's like the second youngest player in the class, which is I think the interesting part. I think if you want to project. Okay, you see he's got a huge catch radius. He can go up and get contested catches. He can run. So his national signing day age is 17.12. Colin Hurley is the only younger one at 16.95. So as far as like projecting, like he's got a lot of growth to do. So, and he's already got pretty good size at 6'5", 225. So I think I'd probably put him in B.
I think something kind of important to his profile, I think you should tag on here. I think he's only been playing football for 1 or 2 years. He just switched over
really?
from basketball. So, very experienced, too. So, there's a lot of potential growth there.
A lot of growth there.
Services are, starting to catch on to bump him up. So, I think he's at least a B, maybe an A guy for me. I don't love the tape there, but, a very high-end athlete. Oh, we don't have any official numbers, but reportedly a very high-end athlete. With a lot of growth potential there between the age and the experience.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just so then it's basically how much do you like the tape, given that he's only been playing for a couple of years, and I mean I think it looks pretty impressive given.
Yeah, I think he lacks a little bit of physicality, which you would imagine from somebody switching over from basketball that might be there, but I think he can grow out of that too.
Yeah. I'll say a B on this one. I don't want to put him in with A just because Matthew's just so fast and just that's a little. I think that's
maybe a little too raw for A tier as well. We bumped up the QBs that were raw, so I think that's fair. It's consistent.
I'm good with that.
All right, B tier, and then finally Trey Jackson. Matt, take us away with the last tight end here. We'll get into commitments.
This is David's guy. If you want to take him, David.
Oh yeah, it's just another basketball player. He really didn't produce much at all last year, not gonna lie, but he's transitioning from wide receiver to tight end, and he's put on a lot of weight, and he seems to be doing really well in the camps this summer as well. But now he went from like 180 to 210, and he's got like 12 to 15 legitimate, like pretty impressive dunks on his huddle. Really, really long arms. He can run the floor real well. So I think he's a guy that will rise, assuming he plays good competition in Texas. So if he can produce against that good competition, I think that would justify him moving upwards. As far as tier goes, his production is just so bad at this point that it's just hard to get.
Can I add in? I think we can excuse the production, though. He's playing on the same team as Jameer Colley, who's a pretty high-end wide receiver. And their other I can't recall his name. He just committed to FCS, I believe. But still, another D1 wide receiver on that team as well. So I think you can excuse the production a bit.
Yeah, that's true. So he could be another. I mean, I still think I'm going to say C, but what do you guys think?
I would argue B with the athletic upside, and then going to Texas Tech too is a pretty awesome spot. So
I feel like Texas Tech. I mean, they seem to like some of these humongous receivers that might be hybrids. They have like Loic Fornucci and some other guys they've got there. So who knows if he'll be truly a tight end anyway. So that seems fair.
All right,
I mean, the golden goose here is a guy labeled tight end who actually ends up playing receiver, and you may get 1 year out of it before Fantrax changes it. We've seen that before as well. So that would be the Gadsden up at Syracuse. So, all right, great. We're doing pretty good and on time, and but we need to get into commitments. We've got a ton of commits. Try to run through them at least quickly rather than maybe necessarily talk about them all.
So let's just dive in.
We'll bring this back in here. So let's dive in. Number one, probably highest rated guy, Jared Gibson, commits to Texas. I don't think we need to talk about him too much. We've mentioned it before, but Texas just continuing to get high-end recruits, especially at that running back position.
And Christian Clark to Texas too. Don't love it for either of them. Hurts both their profiles in my opinion. And then plus you have Baxter there in front of them, so odds are they're both waiting either way. Don't love it for either of them. They're definitely tanking my grades a bit.
Yeah, I don't hate that analysis there. That's going to be tough. One guy we do love and probably love the landing spot, and we will talk about him next week, so stay tuned. Let's not spoil it too much, but Matthew Filler going to South Carolina seems like a pretty nice fit with pretty nice opportunity, and we'll talk more about his profile next episode. Don't want to spoil it. How about G. Kyle Baker? Very fast guy going to TCU. Limited tape because he was injured last year. Matt or David, any additional thoughts on Baker? I've watched him. Pretty interesting, but it's just limited. I think mostly a sophomore tape that's available.
Yeah, I don't love the tape, but really high upside guy. On three is pretty high on him too. Going to TCU, it's a great spot to be right now. I think there's a lot to like there, but I don't necessarily love him.
I do know you love Davon Hall. I'm pretty sure he's on your list of guys you like. Maybe not. Okay. Going to Nebraska,
He's a
Isaiah
freak.
McMorris. Okay, yeah, well, he's a freak athlete. We like that. Isaiah McMorris, Jason Robinson going to Washington. So Davon Hall, Isaiah McMorris, both going to Nebraska.
So they're both teammates at Bellevue with Daniel Kaelin.
Oh, yes, the quarterback, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And they're both, Isaiah McMorris is going to get overshadowed a bit, but he was more productive than Davon Hall on the same team. He's also a freak athlete in his own right. So Nebraska killing it right now. And you could probably just skip straight to Carter Nelson here, another Nebraska commit out of Nebraska. They're staying in home state, and they're getting all the freak athletes that come out of there, which there seems to be an influx with the last couple of years with Malachi Coleman as well last year, Benny Ngoyi. Who's the other guy, David? The guy, the triple jumper. Oh, I'm totally blanking on his name. They got an underrated recruit that I liked last year too.
Oh, Quinn Clark. Oh, in the last one. Yeah, I can't remember his name. Charles, I think. Something Charles. Or
No, it wasn't.
Jeremiah Charles. Yeah, that's him. I got it right.
No, that's not even who I'm thinking of. But they did get Charles. Charles is a freak too. But they got Carter Nelson.
David's the one who said over a year ago, I feel like, or something, and he made a comment. I always remember. He's like, if you scour the Midwest, like these Midwestern cities and towns, I mean, there is a lot of freak athletes that just don't get a lot of attention you can find. And so I guess Nebraska is like, all right, we're just going to stay around here. It's kind of what Kansas State does too, and it works for them. I mean, you can find these guys. All right, another Nebraska guy who again, don't want to spoil it, we'll talk about him next week. Keelan Lacey, one of our, I think, universal favorite 3-star running backs. So, I think that room, I don't think they got a guy last year that we necessarily liked that much. So there's a gap between their starters and this new Lacey by the time 2024 rolls around. So, I think there's some opportunity probably pretty quickly, barring any new transfer or something like that. So Nebraska, 5 guys on this, 4 guys on this list.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
They've been killing it.
Xavier Robinson going to Oklahoma, I think that's a very relevant landing spot. I mean, Oklahoma is a huge program. Any opinion on him? I actually don't have one.
He's a big back, a bit of a grinder. I don't necessarily love his tape.
Not a big fan of him. He's like a short yardage goal line, maybe. I don't know.
Hate that. Dre Hawkins going to Florida. Small, kind of a slot. I think he's going to be a slot type, but very fast. I mean, I think hand timed, but had some card from an event that said 4.2 something. I think he's very fast, but his broad jump was like under 10 feet. So, I mean, I think he's very fast, but I'm not sure he's like an overall explosive athlete. So I do think slot probably fits him well. We talked about Davis going to Washington. Jakari Williams going to Syracuse. I think he's a pretty interesting quarterback. Make a different type of sleeper list at some point. And then, Justice Williams going to Washington, Jason Robinson going to Washington, a pair of receivers going to Washington. Any opinions there?
I could take Jason Robinson. David could take Justice because they're each of our guys. Jason is probably, you could argue, the most refined wide receiver in this class. Maybe not but he's top 5 for sure. Pretty good mover, a bit skinny at the moment, but I really like his skill set. I'm super, super high on him compared to the services. At the moment, he's a top 30 wide receiver for me. So, and especially him going to Washington, I couldn't love it more.
Wow, good word there. Although he is listed on On3 as 5'10".
Don't look on 3. Shh.
Okay.
Shh, it's not real. It's not real. Rivals has him at 170. We can believe that.
We're in denial. We're in denial. He's not 145, guys.
All right. Justice Williams.
I definitely I just want to echo that. He kind of reminded me of Josh Downs when I was watching Robinson, and we just don't get that many refined route runners in high school, so it's just a refreshing thing. Justice Williams, he's just like he's like an X receiver. He has really good bloodlines. His dad played in the NFL for 9 years. He's got just a real big frame. I can see him filling out, just getting, he's already real strong. I think the thing I like most about him is how much energy he plays with. He's just kind of a dog. He blocks really. Puts a lot of effort into blocking, and he's really hard to take down after the catch. Big catch radius, stuff like that. I think he has pretty good acceleration and decent speed, but he could be recruited over for sure. But if not, and he does establish himself, obviously Washington is a good offense to be involved in.
Absolutely.
And one more
like
here that I forgot to highlight.
Yeah, one or two more.
It's a pretty big name.
Ryan Pelham, definitely worth talking about. I was actually surprised he wasn't bolded. I was like,
yeah, I just saw it now and bolded him.
Okay. So, yeah, Ryan Pelham, pretty highly rated, going to, Fantasy Factory from USC Riley offense.
Oh, do you have anything? I thought you were about to go off. Do you have a take on him? Oh, no. I'm not a fan, personally. I think he's pretty overrated, to be honest. He's a very linear wide receiver. He kind of reminds me of reference to
James Washington.
Yep,
That's
James Washington. That's it. Yep.
Okay, James Washington. So we got another James Washington here potentially in Ryan Pelham. Any thoughts on Trevor Rogers going to Cal? He's bolded.
Oh yes, I love Trevor Rogers. I just found him the other week. Big time freak athlete. He got him at 21.2 miles per hour. I think he had almost a 24-foot long jump, or definitely 23s. But either way, very explosive athlete. Good size. I think he's pushing 200 pounds already. And I think he was pretty high in producer too. So just a lot of ticks there on the profile that I really like as someone who's really underrated. I don't have his ranking here, but I wouldn't surprise me if it's outside the 100. I would assume
he appears to only be ranked by 24/7 right now, and it is the 188th receiver. So he's way down there.
He's a top 10 and our athleticism score for wide receivers, I believe. So definitely someone that I'll be betting on. Going to Cal, they've done pretty good with at least freak wide receivers. With
Hunter and Sturdivant both had great years last year, and Sturdivant parlayed that into a UCLA offer. So he changed. Love that. Trevor Rogers, very cool. All right. So that's it for kind of part one of our sleeper show. We did quarterbacks, we did tight ends, and then stick with us next week. We're gonna no commitments because we won't be live or recording during that week really, but we're gonna go through a ton. I think it's like 20 or more running backs and receivers. So definitely want to catch that episode. This has been The Official.